Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and today I'm joined by my lovely co-host Angel.
Hi.
So this week we are talking about, excuse me, Guiding Light. um, we're discussing February 3rd to February 9th. So I'll roll the credits and we'll get right into it. I forgot to say February 3rd to February 9th, 1995 is what we're covering.
I mean, if you've been here at this point,
Not 2024.
that's when oh,
Yeah, now we're sad.
now we're sad.
So I guess we should get like the stories out of the way, or the stuff that wasn't really featured as heavily.
Mhm.
So we had Sid and Jilly,
Jilly, yep.
and apparently they knew each other as kids, or they went to school together, and maybe he had a crush on her.
Oh.
Because yeah, I thought that was cute. Because he like told this story about how he like cut a picture out of her. I don't know if it was from a yearbook or from like a school newspaper, and his brother found it and was like gonna tell everybody, and he like chased him down and basically beat him down and took the picture. Because at this point, I think Jilly knows that he's like the informant or the person
Mhm.
that's been helping him set like those little fires to like get the police's attention.
Yeah.
And she wants to know like where he is. She like wants to meet him, and he's like hesitant because he like his brother ratted out, I guess, some pretty heavy drug dealers, and he's
Mhm.
afraid that his brother will get hurt or
Mhm.
lose his life. So he's been basically moving him around from one location to another. Um, but he said that he made his brother promise not to tell anybody about the picture, and he kept that promise. And so I guess this was supposed to be like an analogy that he was keeping the promise to not blow his cover.
Mhm.
Um, but he ends up going to see his brother, and he tells Jilly that he wants her to come with him. So I thought that was cute.
No.
So
And
they
what was
meet
his
his
brother's name? Roof or he had a weird name.
He had a
Not a
weird
weird
name,
name. Yeah, he had
and I thought I wouldn't forget. It was yeah, I don't remember. Roof, right?
I think it was Roof. Yeah.
Raise the roof. That's what I
Yeah. Like
was like,
raise
that's
the
how
roof.
I'll remember it. So we meet Roof, and he's in a wheelchair. Apparently he was gunned down during a drug deal gone bad. Um and either the people that were responsible for him being gunned down, or they work for the person that was responsible.
Mhm.
They're still around, so that's why they keep moving him. And apparently he's leaving the state, or Springfield.
They
Um,
don't say what state Springfield is, but we're assuming it's somewhere in the Midwest.
oh, we never know like what state it is.
We don't know for sure.
Okay.
We don't know for sure. They never really say where Springfield is. If they did, I might have missed it, but I know it's in the Midwest, like Salem.
Yeah, it's Salem, USA, and not like
Yeah.
Salem, Massachusetts. um, but I've always gathered that Salem was like in like Wisconsin or Illinois,
Mhm.
because whenever they mention like a major city, it's always Chicago.
Yeah.
So I just assume that it's in Illinois somewhere. But back to Guiding Light. So we meet Roof, and this is also his goodbye. So we barely knew him.
We hardly knew you.
We did not see Vivian.
Mm.
That's her name, Vivian. Yeah.
Mhm.
Which was sad because I love her.
Sad baby. Though we did see Annie, so that's just it's good.
Yes,
Good
we
movie.
did. um, what's another smaller storyline? Oh, so Eleni finally arrives in her part of Greece where her family lives.
Mhm.
I totally forgot about this, honestly. When I saw her, I was like, oh, that's right. She's going to Greece.
Mhm.
Because it wasn't featured as heavily this week. Um, she shows up at the restaurant or cafe that her family lives at, like above, to find out that her family doesn't live there anymore and that it has been bought by somebody else. Um, she calls Frank, and apparently because it's windy, they have bad reception,
Mhm.
and she tells him that it's gonna take a few more days, because the sister of the guy that she was arranged to marry has to set up a meeting.
Yeah.
So now Frank's all like, "I have to go to Greece, like, now." And that was pretty much it for that.
Mhm.
Other little things, Nadine was, like, going on a date. And, Frank and Buzz were kinda like they weren't giving the guy a hard time, they were just, like, making small talk because she was taking a long time to get ready.
Mhm.
But also he was early, he, like, came over just to, like, give her flowers. Like,
Yeah.
he said it was, like, hours away.
Yeah.
I like Nadine, I actually got spoiled about some things
Yeah.
because I was
Has to do with a character we met the last time, right?
that and Nadine, I was listening to Old Days Time Confidential, and I was like, "What? What?"
I know.
I was like, "How? Really? The one thing I'm watching is what I get spoiled on?" But we're miles away from that.
We are miles away from that.
What else? Oh, so Lucy apparently was instrumental in closing a 20,000, not thousand, $1,000,000 deal
Mhm.
or billion, million or
Something
billion,
like that.
one of
Look,
them.
more money than we both have at right
Right,
now.
more money than I'm worth.
Yeah.
Um, and Alan Michael wants to like celebrate, and he like puts on rock music, and they're just like dancing around as like Alan and Alexandra are approaching the office.
Mhm.
And they're just discussing, he's thanking her for allowing Alan Michael to be president. And she's like, "Oh, no problem." She's like, "Because, Nick didn't really want it." And he's like, "Yeah, he's like taking it so seriously." And I'm like, "Oh, they're setting it up to show like how not serious he's being by dancing to rock music." But it didn't go the way that I thought. Alan was like, "Oh, you've taken on the Spalding men tradition. Apparently, this is something that all the Spalding men do. They're a little unorthodox when they celebrate." And he's like, "You don't understand because father probably only talks to the men about this, Alexandra." Um, so I'm a little confused about the status of the relationship between Nick and Mindy
Me too.
because at the beginning of the year that we started, they seemed to be on bad terms. Like she didn't want him near her, and now it seems like they're together but not.
Yeah.
And they were trying to adopt a baby.
Mhm. I know that both of them leave sometime this I mean, we established that, like, the 1995 is the year a lot of characters leave or get recast.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if this is, like, coming towards their exit storyline?
Oh, okay. She I think I read, and I think we may have even lately touched on this. She doesn't come back, right? Like she's only like on in the 90s, and that's it.
She does, but not like I know she comes back at the end,
Oh,
because I
okay.
remember the end of the series was the 4 months it wasn't play she wasn't played by Barbara Crampton, it was the original actress.
Oh, okay.
Um, so, like, I remember there was a scene with the 4 Musketeers at the end of the show. 4 Musketeers being Mindy, Philip, Rick, who you're gonna meet this year, and, Mindy, Rick, Beth, and Philip.
Okay.
Very
Um,
huge teensy in the 80s.
Nick shows her a list, an adoption agency list that they were on, and apparently they're on the top of the list.
Mhm.
So that makes her happy. I don't know. It was weird because like they were saying that they love each other, but they're not living together, and they're kind of planning separate lives. And I was just like, what
Yeah,
is
and I
going
still
on
don't know
here?
what caused, like, their breakup, because I would one would think that it would be because she slept with Roger, and this was when,
Oh, I
oh,
didn't know that.
who was playing her at the time? Oh my gosh, with Alexandra, I need to talk to you. I think it was, Kimberly Sims. Kimberly Sims at the time, and then there was a recast between Kimberly Sims and Barbara Crampton, and then Barbara Crampton came on.
Okay, cool. She's becoming a really big part of my life, Barbara Crampton, because she played Trista Evans, Marlena's cousin, I think, on Days
Mhm.
in the 80s. And then I'm watching Santa Barbara, and I was just told by a friend that she makes like a pop-up appearance on Santa Barbara for like an episode or two.
Did you
And
see
then
Chopping Mall?
Chopping Mall? Oh, is that a
Chopping
horror
Mall.
movie?
It's a horror movie. Yeah, she was in
No, but
that.
I heard she's in a lot of horror, like
She's
80s
a
horror.
scream queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like Guiding Light, and then I know
Mhm,
she was on Sunset Beach for a little bit, and then obviously Liana Love. Like, so she's
mhm.
becoming a really big part of my
Yeah,
life
Leanna Love.
retroactively. I like her.
I like her too.
Where was I going? Oh, there was
Dawson? Yeah.
there was a kid. They showed so they had Blake and Ross being like, okay, now that the Fifth Street fire case is done, they're like, what are we gonna do? They're like, we base our lives on other people's lives. Like, we don't actually have lives of our own. And they're kind of like narrating as they're showing like the town's residents like start their morning.
Mhm.
I thought that was a cool
That
like
was a cool episode.
yeah, because it also ended like that with them like kind of narrating it. I liked it.
Mhm.
Um, where was I going with that though? Oh, so there was a kid in the so Nick lives with Fletcher.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Who was the kid? Was that Ben?
That's Ben. Yep.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mhm. Yeah, Ben should be around the same age as Michelle and Billy.
Okay. This is the year that Rebecca Budig comes on as Michelle.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Um I don't want to talk about Josh and Reva yet. Oh, so
Josh and Annie.
Vanessa and Annie. Well, because Reva comes up.
That's
Um
yep.
so Vanessa and Matt are kind of having trouble spending quality time together because like the family keeps interrupting and there's just like a lot going on. And there was a funny scene where Vanessa is sewing, I guess, a jersey for Bill.
Bill, yeah.
I still want to call him Billy because he's a kid, but Bill.
I just called him Billy. Oh my god, I didn't realize that until I
um, and she's like, "Penny for your thoughts," as she's sewing, and he's like, "Well, he's like, since you guys are, how did he say? Are you guys since you guys are shacking up, are you gonna live together?" And she like pokes herself. She's like, "Ow!"
Ow!
Like, she wasn't expecting him to say that. And she just says like she likes to spend time with him and she's not going anywhere if that's what he's worried about.
Mhm.
She mentions, maybe he could start coming over for family dinners if that's okay with him. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. And she's like, oh, okay. So everybody was kind of accepting the relationship. I feel like
Mhm.
the scandal has worn off,
Yeah.
at least within the family. I don't know about in the tabloids.
Mhm.
um, I was laughing every time they were trying to talk dirty with each other. There was like always like some commotion going on.
Yeah. And then she went in the big walk-in closet.
Yeah, and her father like opened the closet, like looking for something. He's like, "Oops, sorry, I didn't know you were in here." Like that's normal, just be hiding in the closet. Meanwhile, I think at that point he was like, "What are you wearing?" He's like, "Maybe you should take your shirt off." As her father opens the door.
As her father opens the door.
So I totally forgot that Josh asked Annie out on a date, and Mara's like really excited that he's going on a date. She's like teasing him a little bit.
Mhm.
Is Josh known to have like a temper where he just like yells for no reason?
Um, so I feel like okay, so non-Reva clips of Josh that I've seen, he's either a sad sack, he's really angry, something along those lines of like, you know, obviously I need Reva in my life so I wouldn't be like this person.
Okay.
Clips of him with Reva or with like a woman, he's basically mellowed. He's very
Okay.
romantic, like especially with Reva. He's very romantic with Reva.
Okay.
Like some of my favorite clips of Josh are with Reva. But
Okay.
like, I know there was like I don't think it's famous, but there's like I think it is a little famous. There's a scene I forgot the indication, and you can help me out in the comments here, where Josh is paralyzed, and him and Burt Bauer were in physical therapy at the same time. Burt Bauer stands up. I think Burt Bauer's being in a wheelchair has to do with diabetes, if I'm not mistaken. So
Okay.
I think she lost one of her limbs, um, I think that happened to the actress in real life,
Oh,
which led to Sharita Bauer dying. Um, So they were so happy. Oh, she could stand, yeah. And then like cuts to Josh, and he goes, "Get me out of this chair! Whoa, damn it!" That's and this was in the early '80s, so
Okay.
this was prior to Reva, from what I understand, or maybe it
Oh,
was, or maybe he was with Reva, and it was like their first like real like on screen, like we're trying to get together, but we don't like each other, but we like each other,
yeah.
and you're marrying my father, and this and that. And I think this was prior to the Slow of Springfield. I cursed myself. Baptized myself the Slow of Springfield. So.
So I know she married his father.
Hmm.
Did she then marry his brother before she actually got to him?
I think she married Billy before the father, but this was out
Oh,
of town because Alan brought her on as just a foil, just a
oh, I didn't know
yeah,
that.
as a foil for I think it was Vanessa and Billy.
Oh, okay, I
I
didn't know
think
that.
that's what happened. Yeah,
Oh, that's
but then
cool.
it turned out that then Josh was in town, and it turns out it didn't go right.
Right. Hmm. Oh, I didn't know that little piece of history. That's interesting. I thought she was just like I don't like a Brooke Logan. I don't know. I didn't know she was actually brought in as a foil. Um, oh, so he's getting ready for his date, and he
Hmm.
has his cast on still, and he either can't get his pants on, or the pant is like stuck, and
Hmm.
he's like screaming for Vanessa's help.
What is
Meanwhile,
it?
Annie's downstairs, like, what the hell is going on? And Mara's just sitting there laughing at him. I love the actress that plays Mara because she comes up on Instagram currently, and it's just like, oh,
Hmm.
look at you all grown up. I'm seeing you as a
Yeah,
child.
she's wearing the locker room shirt that he just made.
So Josh apparently had made reservations at a fancy Italian restaurant, and once he finally gets dressed, they go. Um, and he starts talking, I think, about like a Mexican restaurant that's really good, and she's like, oh, I like spicy, and he's like, well, we could go there if you want, but I guess they had already ordered, or
Hmm.
their drinks had started coming, so they ended up staying.
Yeah,
Um, did he try to order for her? There was like a little
he
contention
tried.
because she was like, I want this.
He tried to order for her. Yeah.
Yeah. She's very independent. But apparently she didn't get what was ordered, which she ordered, but she said that it was very good, and he tried to return it, and they were gonna take it back, and she's like, no, 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 it's good, I like it.
Hmm.
So she got a little angry that he like
Hmm.
was like disregarding her opinion,
Hmm.
feelings. Um, they talk about Riva a little bit. She's like, I asked around, I heard about your wife, I'm sorry. But he's like, I don't want to live in the past. He's like, I want to live in the now and move forward.
Hmm.
But when they're fighting over the meal, she's like, you know what? I think this was a mistake. She's like, so I'm just gonna go. And I'm like, but you picked him up. How's he gonna get home? But then she's like, I'll drive you home. She's like, I stick to my commitment. So um that was pretty much it for them together.
Well,
Uh
he comes back to the hospital. Doesn't he come to the hospital
yeah, to apologize, right?
to apologize? Yeah.
Um how did that get resolved? I don't remember. Did she accept?
I think she did accept.
Okay. Um Bridget was a little bit more tolerable this week. I feel like I'm seeing cracks in her anger, and she's
Hmm.
starting to be a little bit normal again.
Hmm.
Every time she's in a scene with oh, not what's his name, Vivian's son,
David.
David. I feel like they're chem testing. I mean, I know they were friends before, but I'm like, are they a thing? Are they going to be
They
a
oh
couple?
yeah, so when I was watching fast forward a little bit, every year I watch the 1995 Christmas special. You'll see why when we get to it.
Okay,
Like, it's one of those, like it's a flashback episode of the years. So I watch it every year. That's where a lot of my references to the show comes from, like, with in the past and stuff like that.
okay.
So, at that point, they recasted Dave, so bye. I like the actor who
Oh,
plays him.
really?
Yeah, but the guy who plays him was on Sunset Beach, so
Oh,
Dr. Titus Robinson. Did you get to his character yet?
no.
Okay, all right. Yeah, he
Okay.
was Dr. Titus Robinson on Sunset Beach, and he was also on Another World before that.
Okay.
Um, but it seems like there's always this,
Like
are they going to be a couple with
underlying.
them? And then I don't think it ever happens.
Hmm.
Because there's a very and this is prior to when we started watching it, there was a very famous trial, where, David got accused of killing somebody, but he didn't kill him, and when he was, let off, Bridget runs into his arms and jumps, like, kinda, like the Sabrina moment.
Yeah.
It's a lot like that.
Okay.
So there's always this, are they gonna be a couple? Are they just friends? Like this they're playing around with the platonicness of their
Did you watch Vampire Diaries?
I did a little bit, yeah.
Did you watch it like deep? Like were you in season 6 when you were still watching?
No, no,
Oh, so there's. I'll just explain really quick. So you know Bonnie, right?
mhm,
At some point she went to like she time traveled. She was like in 1994 for a few months, and when she came back and she saw Damon, there was a moment like that. She like ran to him and like jumped in his arms, and there
mhm,
was always like kind of that. Oh, do they have romantic chemistry? Like Bonnie
mhm,
and Damon, like.
mhm,
And I was like, I think I like this. So that's what that reminded me of. You explaining
yeah.
that. But back to getting late. um, I really like Lucy. I know I said this last time, but I really like her, and I feel so bad for her because she just wants to be in a relationship so bad.
Mhm.
She's like, I guess I'll go back to the personals.
Guess I'll go back to the personals.
She's like, this guy says not Prince. She's like, maybe I'll answer the guy that says he's not Prince Charming. And she mentions to Bridget that she's a virgin still, which nothing
Oh,
wrong with that. I just feel like she
nothing
looks a
wrong with
little
that. Yeah.
old to be a virgin still. Like
Well,
she's a young
how
girl, but
old
I'm
is she?
like,
Is she like in her 20s?
yeah, maybe I could see that.
Yeah, that would happen. It happens.
Yeah, it happens. Um, I think even Bridget's a little bit shocked, but she's like, good for you. She's like, don't settle.
Mhm.
Um, and this is when I think I noted that Bridget was acting a little bit more normal because she talked about what it's like to have that like spark and be in love, and she talked about Dylan, but she did it in like a calm way, like
Mhm.
almost a reminiscent way instead of being angry.
Yeah.
So I like that. I started to see the cracks. Um, who else? Who am I forgetting? Oh, the big one. Well, I guess it's not really that big, but
Yeah.
Holly and Roger.
Kelly Fletch and Raj. I like when people call him Raj.
Yeah. um, so he's staying with Holly. They're not engaged, but he's still living there, and he just is getting frustrated
Mhm.
with the status of their relationship
Mhm.
because she won't let him in, like intimately, like physically. They'll kiss, and he says, like, I just feel like we'll kiss, and you put this wall up, like you don't want me to touch you. And I thought it was very interesting how he worded it, or the writers worded it, because he says, "Is it because of what happened in the past?" That actually
Mm,
saying what it was, and I was like, "I know what you're talking
mhm. We
about."
know. We know.
Um, and she says, "No, no, no." She just has to work out her thoughts or her feelings. And he's like, "Well, I'm not gonna live here if this is how it's gonna be." And she doesn't want him to go. He's like, "You saying you don't want me to go, but you're not letting me in." So he's like, "Until you figure it out, I'm just gonna go." So he goes. Um, Meanwhile, Fletch and Nick are talking openly about how he feels about Holly and how she'll always go to Roger, and it's just a pipe dream.
Mhm.
But he's like, I gotta try one more time. And Holly goes to see him, and he says, we should go out and try to work out what's going between us and end this if it needs to be ended.
Mhm.
And she initially is like, no, but then she comes back and she agrees. And So he says like, okay, dinner tonight. And then that same night, Roger asks her to go to dinner, and she's like, oh no, I have a business meeting. So he he buys it, but he doesn't because he's doing some investigating. He goes to her office, he goes to her desk trying to find a name of a man.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know Roger too well, but he seems very persistent. Like he won't let things go.
Yeah.
um, who did he ask? Oh, it was Ed Bauer.
Mhm.
He was talking to Ed, and he was like, "She's addicted to you. It's always gonna be you. There's never gonna be another man. Like you're like the one and only for her." And
Yeah,
he's like,
And Ed and Holly used to be a thing, I think, for a little bit, and Roger never actually let that go, 'cause
because I assume, given the status, that he lost her to Roger.
Mhm. Roger
um,
never actually let that go. It was always like, "You always go back to Ed. You always go back to Ed."
so does she?
She doesn't. I can spoil that, she doesn't go back to Ed.
Oh, okay. um, so yeah, I was wondering because there was a little. I was like, okay, these guys apparently don't like each other, but he's like,
Mhm.
I'm being honest with you, like you're her one and only, pretty much. Um, but so Fletcher tricks her, and he ends up taking her away for like a ski weekend or a ski couple of days.
Mhm.
So it's an overnight, and the next day he has a whole skiing thing planned. And I think I dozed off a little bit, honestly. Somehow Roger found out that that's where she was.
I didn't get how he found out, and it wasn't because I dozed off. It's I guess since I wasn't paying attention because I watch some of this in the background while I'm like cooking and stuff like that,
Uh-huh.
and I listen to it, but I don't really hear it.
Okay.
And then a lot of it is just him driving in the snow.
Yeah, there was a well, I don't they went where there's snow to go skiing.
Mhm.
So I don't know if it was necessarily a snowstorm. I think he was just headed towards the ski lodge,
Mhm.
and it just happened to be snowing maybe.
Yeah.
Um so part of me wonders if he knew she was with Fletcher or he just suspects that there's a man. Because when he finds her, she doesn't let him in and she's ready to leave. But he sees a bottle, I guess, of champagne or wine. I don't know which liquor it
And the
was.
snow boots. Oh yeah, the part that I forgot and then I just remembered was Fletcher was taking Holly's snow boots off and they fell on top of each other and they kissed.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that part. I definitely dozed.
Yeah.
And then I woke up and I was like, "Oh, I probably only missed like 5 minutes. I probably missed like 15 minutes." Um, so she leaves with him and he's like, "Oh, but it's snowing." And she's like, "No, it's fine, it's fine." And she lies and says that she was with a woman.
Mhm.
And I couldn't tell if Roger knew she was lying or because he flashes back to the champagne and the snow
Mhm.
boots. So I couldn't tell if he already knew who she was with, and but she commits this lie, and she actually keeps telling more details, and I'm like, "Stop it, stop it."
Stop it. Mm-mm.
I'm like, "I don't know Roger that well, but I know him well enough to know that if he already knows you're lying, you're just digging yourself deeper."
Mhm.
Um, and that's pretty much how that ended.
Mhm.
Is there any characters I forgot?
No, but there is one little thing, not a major thing. So if you notice the opening credits changed a little bit.
There was a day where it was shorter, and I was like, "Oh,
Right,
is
it
that
was
a thing?"
shorter, and so, I did a little research about that. I'm like, "Why does the opening credits sound like" so it's basically what it is, like, it's the "doo doo doo," and then the part where it says "guiding light,"
Uh-huh.
and then it ends.
Yeah.
There's no characters at all in the opening.
Mhm.
Um, so 1995, what big thing happened in media in 1995?
OJ.
Yep. So that was the reason they wanna allow more content to be in case there's, like, a break-in, so they
Oh,
shoddily messed up the opening a little bit for a few episodes, I guess.
okay.
'Cause, like, by the end of the by, like and I'm sure it's gonna come up again. I'm sure it's gonna come up again a few times. It's not as like clean and polished as like the one in 1997 where they actually did shorten the opening and then they
Mhm.
left it shortened for the rest of its run, which
Okay.
is a little more clean and polished. And which I like that opening too because it's just like, oh man, we get more content. So
Yeah.
because it's like 1997 is just so good that like you just don't mind if the opening is short.
Huh, I didn't even really think about that because, like, Passions would kinda have a shortened version of their theme
Hmm.
song that they would show every once in a while, so I just chalked it up to that's just something that they do every once in a while. Um, and I'm sure other shows have shortened versions of their theme.
Yeah, I mean, Days of Our Lives is a shortened version of a opening that's supposed to be short.
Yeah. So, I didn't even think that OJ had a part in that.
Yeah, so I think for what I understand, and I think I heard it from Novell, Jay Lee. I think he mentioned that. Um, that's why they shortened the opening because of the OJ Simpson stuff. And then even like the music and it sounded like it was like, oh, we just need to chop this up a little bit. We need to add the mid bumper and put it in there. And I'm like, no, this is not how it's supposed to be. If you want to shorten the opening, just show guiding light and that's it.
I miss bumpers. I miss the whole
I
we
love
will
that.
return for the second half of Days of Our Lives in just a moment in
Yes.
the middle.
Guiding light had that. Like we will return for the second half of guiding light in just a moment.
I think As the World Turns had it too.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
where they like moved the opening, where they moved the logo up so that way you could just add like the station ID, and I'm like, I love it so much.
I feel like back because this is when I started watching As the World Turns, back during, like, the beginning of the Luke and Noah thing. I
Hmm.
feel like in that point, they would actually kinda show scenes of what was coming up in the
Yeah,
second.
so it's coming up on As the World Turns. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I love
I
that.
like that.
It confused me for the first when that happened the first time. I thought it was like, oh my gosh, they shortened the show.
Yeah.
30 minutes now, no. But then
Oh,
I
you thought it was, like, the
realized,
preview for the next episode?
yeah, I thought it was the previous to the next episode.
Um, yeah, so I remember thinking, like, things like OJ, like, when the soaps would get interrupted, I used to, like, pray because sometimes they would, re-air the episode at, like, 1 in the morning or 2 in the
Hmm.
morning. So whenever that would have like, a snow would interrupt, I'm like, "Please replay it." It wouldn't always happen, but, like,
Yeah,
usually if they took up a good chunk of it, they would do it. But these episodes are available, so they must have replayed at some point.
yeah, because I remember seeing the bottom of the screen from and my affiliate that played this. Wait a minute, hold on, let me think because this was 1995. It could have been on channel 10 at that point because then it moved to channel 3 later in 95.
Oh, okay.
So we had a network switch in our area. Channel
Mm.
NBC and CBS swapped.
Oh,
Anybody who's a Philadelphia knows that about the famous swap, unless you were born after that point. So it wasn't as confusing as one would think. All you had to do was just say, "Oh, wait, Seinfeld comes on channel 10 now," or or As the World Turns comes on channel 3 now. So that's basically it took a little bit, but once you got used to it, it's like, oh, this makes sense now.
I'm sure there were a few people that went to
Mhm.
record their show on the wrong channel, and they were like, "Damn it," and then they didn't make that mistake again.
Yep.
But, let me just is there anything I forgot that you wanted to mention?
I don't think there's anything that you forgot. I think we covered everything.
I'm just trying to, like, go through my notes. Yeah, I think I covered everything that was in my notes. Alright, I guess we can wrap this up.
Okay.
Alright, well, thank you for joining us for another week's worth of Guiding Light. As always, you can find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps, and until next time, have a great day. Bye.
Bye.